So do you want to talk about the flows connection reference replacer? Because I know.
You haven't seen
this
this?
would get you excited. I haven't seen this, so tell me, because now I'm gonna get excited, and I didn't look at it deliberately so that you can tell me, and I can get excited.
Okay, so I imagine this: you're working on a project, and then all of a sudden, there's 5 bazillion connection references, all pointing to basically the same connection or the same thing. And let's just say you're in this project, and all of a sudden you start kind of yelling at people at Teams to make sure they get their connection references sorted out before a deployment happens. As you're doing the deployment, all of a sudden, if it's prompting you to make all these new connections, you're like letting the team know and shaming people and things like that.
Me so well. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm just a hypothetical scenario here.
Yeah. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Power Platform Boost podcast, your timely source of Power Platform news and updates with your hosts, Nick Dolman and Ulrikke Ackerbeck. Hi, Nick. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good, thanks. How's the summer going?
Oh, the summer is not here today, but it was here last week or this week? Monday. Okay, yeah. So all good. And you had a bit of a heat wave, and then it kind of quieted down.
Oh man, we've had a heat wave, and then we had nice weather, and then right now there's thunderstorms rumbling. So if you lose me, that's probably why. So let's see how this goes.
My daughter would be so envious because she's really sensitive to the pressure changes in the atmosphere. So when there's a thunderstorm coming afterwards, she feels so refreshed because then all the tension is released. And she's been begging for a thunderstorm for weeks. So when I tell her you had thunderstorms, it's going to be so envious.
Yeah, my daughter as well loves thunderstorms.
But it is something about it. I mean, especially in summer when we've been outside for for a lot, and then just having that one day of rain and thunderstorms is just kind of get the blanket and the popcorn and the movie and just stay inside and just fill them with other things for a whole day. It's good.
It just, I don't know, to me it's the power of nature and things like that. I think in another lifetime I would have been one of these crazy guys that would chase storms and things like that, but I ended up in IT.
You say other lifetime, I give you 10 years max
of my life.
No, until you're that guy. I mean, just, why wait till another lifetime? I give you like 10 years and off you go. You're going to be.
You don't know. After this podcast, I could be hopping in my truck chasing down this thunderstorm. So
that's what I mean. That's literally what I mean. It's like, one of these days you're just going to say, oh, I'm not going to be bothered with this technology stuff anymore. I'm just going to grab my camera and run off and chase thunderstorms in my truck.
Yeah, because AI can't do that yet. And it's going to do everything else for me. So
there you go. Amazing segue. Thank you, Nick. I was waiting for a straw to reach to get into the news and updates because that's why we're here.
Exactly. So, diving right into it. So there's a new feature that we did talk about. I think maybe we mentioned it the last couple weeks already. In Microsoft 365 Copilot. This is the one you get through. It's a license thing that you need that your company generally gets for you. And they've enabled, we talked about this already, enabling things like the research and some other things, but they enabled something called Notebooks. Now, Notebooks is something we talked about already, has been part of Google Notebook LM as well. Very similar feature, but it has its own unique things. So Lisa Crosby did a video on this about using Copilot Notebooks. And I started using this, and I have a story about using Notebooks. Like right after I watched Lisa's video, my wife, she also works in the industry. She does Dynamics 365 Power Platform. She's a solution architect. And I said, what are you working on? She goes, I'm putting together basically a requirements document for a customer. it's just it's taking me a lot of time and everything like that. I said, oh, and I kind of joked. I said, oh, sounds like a job for Copilot. And she says, yeah, in Copilot and Word, it can help you do the writing. But of course, I'm trying to collect all the different things, the Teams meetings. There's different spreadsheets where they're doing estimations. There's different documents they got from the client and websites and everything like that. And I said, have you seen notebooks in Microsoft 365? She goes, no, tell me, what's that all about? So I showed her where you can begin to collect all of these different documents and things. And then all of a sudden, her, like 5 minutes later, she's knocking on my office door saying, oh, guess what I did? I put all these things in and it helped me beginning to generate my requirements document. It's pulling all of this information from Teams meetings and this and this. And I'm able to actually begin to structure out different things and all this. So that's sort of an example of using notebooks. And then for myself, I realized, like, for people who see me on LinkedIn and the YouTube and the movies, like, my own personal brand is all over the place. And I think, okay, I need to consolidate this. My blog's been going for 10 years. I want to start part of my summer projects. I have a list is to kind of consolidate, get my personal brand in order. And I'm actually, one of our friends in the community is helping me out with this. And she asked me, she said, can you put together some stuff, to help me kind of help you with this? And I'm like, oh crap, I got to do this. So again, I used notebooks. I pointed it to my LinkedIn. I pointed it to my Sessionize profile. I uploaded my resume. I uploaded some other documentation, and boom, it helped me in iterating back and forth, put together a bit of a brand profile or personal brand profile proposal with different things. I even told it, these are my favorite colors. These are the things I want to reflect on. And then it gave me a nice, what's that?
Do you have favorite colors?
I do. And it gave a little brief, and then I sent that off to her, and she said, this is amazing. I can work with this. And I said, well, just to be full transparency, I use Copilot Notebooks. Here's the prompt I use to get all this stuff. So again, like, sharing is caring. So we'll keep on top of how that all goes. But this is if you haven't looked at Copilot Notebooks yet, it is something, if you're working with multiple pieces of information and trying to consolidate and work with it, I think it's a bit of a game changer. It's more powerful than really on the surface. And I think already a lot of people are beginning to notice it. So yeah, I'm not sure if you tried out notebooks yet or not.
No, but isn't it kind of the same as the Google notebooks that we've had for a while, where you can upload a document and make a kind of a podcast thing about it? Because that's also one of the features, right? You can have two people talk over it, create a kind of a podcast situation, much like we have on top of the information.
Yeah. The one drawback I did find, though, the whole podcast thing, because we are going to be talking soon about some other content, but I uploaded a piece of content that we got from Microsoft that we want to talk about. I can't talk about it yet. I uploaded that into the Microsoft 365 Copilot to say, give me an audio overview because I need to get ramped up on this. It generated a 20-minute podcast, but I couldn't download it. I could only listen to it through the app. Where if I go to Notebooks LM, I did the exact same thing. It actually gave me a downloadable audio file that I can throw on my phone. I can listen to it on the gym or whatever else. So there are some gaps and differences. I'm sure that feature will come eventually, like everything, right? If there's something missing, come back a week later or a day later, and it might just be there. And we'll talk more about that when other things like Plan Designer, when we talk a little bit about that later on, about the features that are just popping up that were lacking before and turn people off, come back again. So yeah, it is is similar, but it is also now ties in because within the Microsoft 365, then you have those governance guardrails that you might not necessarily have using external tools with your own personal work information. So there is that benefit there.
Yeah. And also something that Lisa touched on in her video is that how important it is to check in with these tools every now and again. And also I saw that in a post from Femke this week as well, that suddenly now there's a new update to the models that are behind Copilot. Microsoft 365 Copilot models have had an upgrade, is what I'm trying to say. And so if you, like me, felt like, well, I'm not really using Microsoft 365 Copilot because I find that ChatGPT just does a better job, then maybe it's time to go back and give it another go. And this goes for all of the AI tools that we see. If you abandon something, you need to go back and check it again, because these things will get updates and suddenly it's a much better tool. So I think, that is very important. And also, in terms, speaking of updates, your good friend, Nathan Rose, posted on LinkedIn 5 new highlights of 5 highlighted 5 new features, more like it.
Yeah. And basically, Nathan does these great little short videos, this short content, very easy to digest. Nathan, I really love your content. Even though we do disagree on some things sometimes, kind of a nice little rivalry going on there. But these are really cool. Very simple stuff, autosave. Like seriously, like I know these are little things sometimes, but of course, if you're working on something in Copilot Studio, then all of a sudden you accidentally close your browser or go away, then all of a sudden you've lost all your stuff. There's nothing more. This goes back to the dawn of time, making sure you hit the save button. I know over the years, there's been multiple times where I've done a lot of work and not hitting the save button or losing power or something, as I talk about thunderstorms and power, that it just goes missing. So there is autosave. Little thing, big impact. Agent chaining.
Yeah, sorry.
Oh, no, go on.
But because when Power Pages, they released Power Pages in New Studio, that also had automatic save. And that was a big riot for not having it. All right. So it's not always the answer. And I can see scenarios where you wouldn't have it. So I think, and that was the discussion we had back then as well. We could actually retrack. And I think we said the exact same thing in that episode, that if you want to enable auto anything that the user choose, and if you have auto save, make sure you have versioning so that you can actually go back, because there isn't need to save all changes. And sometimes you just want to experiment with something and it auto saves and you can't go back. So then go undo, do, redo, that kind of thing is becoming increasingly important. So it's not just a good news in my book, to be honest.
No, that's a very fair, that you're absolutely right, because there's been, especially what I've been finding. So yeah, talk about the autosave in GitHub Copilot in Visual Studio Code. I've run into this where GitHub Copilot has given me some code and I think, yeah, that's great. I apply it. And then I'm like, oh shit, no, that doesn't work. I need to backtrack. And then I realize I didn't do the commit before I applied. So yeah, you're absolutely right. There's the autosave is a double-edged sword. Yes, it can save your butt, but also it can kind of rain on your parade as well. So yeah, totally get it. So going back to it, Nathan Rose's feature. So yes, the dangers of autosave, that could be a whole episode in itself. Other thing, agent chaining lets your bots have play dates. So we talk about agents talking to agents. And yeah, I think as we get more into this, we're realizing you don't big this massive agent that does everything, break it down and have agents do different things. And that way you can mix and match and do different things. That's pretty cool. This is something I noticed, and we're going to talk about the Copilot assessment or the applied skills, but actions are now tools. So if you still go through a lot of the learned content, it will say, well, we'll add an action. And I'm like, I don't see the action in the interface anymore. And realizing it's now been renamed tools. It's pretty much the exact same thing, but there are some subtle differences. So that's sort of another thing. This is something with Copilot Studio. It's changing on a weekly basis. It's really hard to keep up sometimes. And so, kudos to the team that are doing this applied skills stuff that we'll talk about it, just to keep up, because your applied skills instructions might change based on the user interface changes. Advanced data ops at screen power automate energy. Okay, yeah, some more automation and things like this. Other thing about power effects and agent instructions gone. And he said, poof, no one is crying. Okay, maybe one guy, because we all know Nathan's a big power effects guy, but I never got into the point of Copilot Studio where I felt I needed to use power effects. Now, to be fair, I haven't gone deep into projects with Copilot Studio yet, but it's interesting that power effects kind of made an appearance and then got pulled back. Do you have any thoughts on this, or have you used power effects in Copilot Studio? Did you get that far down the rabbit hole?
No, me neither.
Okay.
So to me, this is kind of I don't know the benefits or the drawbacks and why they would remove it. So if we can still kind of reference other content and do what we could always do when they're pulling it back, then yeah, sure.
Okay. Yeah, it'd be interesting. If any of our listeners are really greatly upset about power effects and missing from Copilot Studio, then definitely let us know. We'd like to keep this discussion going, because power effects to me has always been, this is the language of, the Power Platform kind of going forward, the low code language. So it's interesting that it was sort of there. Maybe it was just a case of an experimental feature. Well, let's just see if this sticks or if it's beneficial, and maybe it wasn't. So
Yeah.
Good post, Nathan. Keep them coming.
Yeah, and if anyone can tell us why he's crying, it should be Nathan. So Nathan, please tell us, why are you crying? And no one else cares about this. We would love to hear it.
Yes.
But these are very good updates, and it is. I'm loving seeing news from Lisa Crosby and Femke Corneliussen and Nathan Rose on these kinds. And there's a few others I'm going to mention as well that kind of keeps posting these small little updates on LinkedIn, so that we can all keep up to date. Data on a day-to-day basis. And I also found so for Copilot Studio, you now have release notes actually every 2 weeks. It seems like the cadence is actually picking up. So there's a June 25th was the last one. And in that, that's another way to kind of keep up to date with the news and updates. And in that, I saw something called Copilot Vision on mobile, now available for free in the US. And I was looking at, what is Copilot Vision? I haven't heard about that before. So I dove in and I tried to see what it was. And it's like your new Ray-Bans, right? It's like you have a second pair of eyes on your screen. And I was scrambling to trying to find it. And also, this is something else. Maybe it's just me, but I found that you had the same thing where it's Copilot Vision for Windows, which kind of puzzled me because I went into Microsoft 365 Copilot app that I have on my Windows machine. It's not the same thing because you have Microsoft 365 Copilot, which is which works with your company account. Which is a pro license type thing. Then you have Copilot app on your Windows machine, which is your personal account app. And these two are two different apps. I thought that was kind of one and the same, or not. They're two different things. So so this is where the personal one, as far as I can see. And also, like we said, we couldn't find it. None of us could find it because it's now available in the US. So for whoever we have listening to us from the US, please report back and tell us if you like Copilot Vision. And the thing is, it's kind of a second set of eyes on your screen, right? So you show it an image. You say, where is this? You can ask it to read something and then give you an image that goes with it. You can kind of have it analyze something for you, look at graphs for you, compare things, and kind of help you with what you see on the screen. So it's something that, of course, we couldn't try because we can't access it, but it sounds really fun and maybe promising. So looking forward to checking that out.
So, and it'll probably show up on our stuff eventually, like everything, I'm sure.
Like everything else, yes. We have so many more AI news and updates. We need to get cracking. And you updated yourself on Copilot Studio this week as well, because we kind of I threw a challenge last episode.
Yes,
and you won. Congratulations.
Well, it was, it was funny because I remember like we talked about it and I said I wanted to do it. And then you said, ooh, challenge. And then of course I understand life sort of takes over, especially on this too. And then last Friday, I was sitting down and said, okay, I'm actually going to do it. I went through the material just to make sure I was on top of things. And the learning material, again, a little bit dated, but it's really not bad as a good foundation it was good. It reminded me of all the PVA stuff that I'd learned like a year ago in terms of topics and trigger and all the stuff. Of course, a lot of that has changed. So I experimented a little bit, had a lot of fun kind of going, reintroducing myself to Copilot Studio effectively to get on top of this. And there's a few projects that will more and more get into this. So I did the assessment, applied skill assessments are cool. Now I know we've talked about this before, but what I like about them over certifications is certifications, I think, have their place. You need to get a good foundation, but you kind of have to, I wouldn't say memorize, but you need to have this knowledge and you fill in, whether it's multiple choice or different questions. You do it at testing center, you can do it online, and then you get your certification like PL 200, PL 900, by the way, PL 900, Vegas, Boost 100, get a discount. We'll talk more about that later. But then the applied skills, they have one for Canvas apps, they have one for model-driven apps, Power Automate, and some other ones as well. But this one is Copilot Studio. So basically, once you say you want to take the assessment, a virtual machine pops up on your screen, and then you basically gives you a set of instructions, and you go in and you have to do hands-on exercises based on the instructions. They come in and say, do X. and you have to go into Copilot Studio and do X. And then once you're all done, gives you a bunch of different steps that kind of build on each other. Then you submit, and then it chugs away. And then it comes back telling you whether you passed or failed the assessment. And I passed with like 96%, which was cool, but it doesn't tell you what you got wrong. So that's kind of where I'm kind of like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Is it something fundamental? Is it, maybe it was just something I named something incorrectly or whatever. But basically overall, it's a great way to prove that you, not only do you know the tool, but you can actually work with the tool as well. So if you haven't taken the skills assessments, they're free, no cost. Basically, you log in with your MS Learn account, you can take the assessments, and if for some reason you fail, then you have, I think, 48 hours, and you can either 48 or 72 hours, you can take it again. So it's not like you can take it right away, but gives you time to go back and practice and get your skills up. I heard a few people say that they've had some technical issues, like things that are freezing up or crashing. That's unfortunate with a platform like this. I found it a little sluggish when it was provisioning my Copilot Studio, because it does kind of force you to do like a trial version. I had to refresh the browser to actually get it to show up. Like at first it was just spinning, and I kind of walked away, grabbed a coffee. When I came back, it was still spinning. I'm like, okay, it's eating in my time because they give you 2 hours to do this. So I actually had to refresh. And then the other time when I submitted the stuff at the end, it kind of gave me that, do you want to leave this page? And I'm like, no, I don't. But actually I do, because as soon as I left the page, then it said evaluating. So a few little weird things like that you have to kind of use some kind of hope and a prayer and get through. But overall, it was a great experience, and I'm sure it will get better. So, I mean, it's also a great way to kind of prove if you know a particular technology or not. And of course, all these things show up on your Learn profile. You get these little certificates that you can post on LinkedIn. I printed mine off, stuck it to the fridge, more just to show my wife that I did this. Kind of as a thing that we do in terms of, like, my wife and I get competitive in terms of certification exams. She goes, well, what did you get? Like, well, what did you get? It's always about who got the biggest score. I'm not competitive at all, but yeah, definitely try out the skilled assessments and let us know how it went.
100%. And I've had 2 weeks with the holiday with the kids. I never planned to do anything these few weeks at all, but knowing you well, knowing how competitive you are, I kind of thought, I'll just throw that challenge up in there and see what happens.
It was strategic. I get you. It
was never ever my plan to do it during my holiday with the kids, not in a million years. So
she says
I'm
so
starting.
Now.
No, I'm sitting down first day for have my first day of working now. I'm going to work the next 2 weeks. So it was always my plan to do it now. So I'm going to dive right into it. I'm excited about it. Right. So next on the list is something called Research Agents, powered by Project Sophia and our good friend Anna, which I have a feeling you've been talking to already this week without saying anything more than that. She she wrote a blog post with 7 research agents that is a way for her to show you how you can work with Project Sophia to have it help you with different use cases and scenarios. So she shows you the data that she uses going in, and also what Project Sophia and the research agent does, and what the outcome is, and how you can use it to do sales forecasting, marketing campaign performance, customer support trends and analysis, finance support automation and risk identification, HR, retail inventory, project and portfolio reporting. So very well done, Anna. Very good blog post. And I love anything Project Sophia, so just keep it coming. Very good.
No, big fan of Anna for sure. And and you're right in terms of how she's helping me out with some stuff because she's so talented.
She is very talented. And something else I just randomly picked up was a video called AI Research Feels Smart Until It Isn't. It was actually one of the videos that popped up after I'd seen Lisa's video, I think, on YouTube. But it was a podcast setting where it was a writer kind of podcast where they writer talked to other writers, and they touched on how you use, as a writer, you would use AI to research now, whereas you would have researched yourself before. And then they kind of touched on something that we talked about before that I found was really resonating with me, because what he says is you do the research, you get the results, and you get the material that you use for wherever it is that you're writing your novel or whatever it is. But actually, the point of the research is not to get the information. It's about doing the research. It's about reading through all that material and searching and finding the good words to use and kind of submerging your head in that world. That is the point of research, not the information that you get out of it. And I think it talks very well to what we've been saying for a while, is that use AI and use it a lot, but use it with care. Make sure that you actually get the information you need inside your head. We could easily have agents, and we do have agents at this point, that scrapes the internet and gives us the news and updates that we use for this podcast. We don't only do that. We kind of work with this as well, as we've always done, but we could easily have AI go through and get all the resources and put that into notebooks. We've had that capability with Google Notebooks for a year, and create a podcast for you. But would Nick and I learn anything by doing that? No. So why are we doing this? We're doing this for our listeners, but we're also doing it for ourselves to make sure that we keep up to date with the news and updates for us, which means that the whole point disappears if everyone are just kind of going in, gurgitating, kind of throwing out stuff that they find or that AI creates for them out on the web, and it doesn't even have to go through their own heads, then they don't learn anything. And so it's again, like we talked about last episode as well, use AI, but don't forget about the doing, because it is in the doing of the thing that makes it stick to your mind. And it doesn't have any value if it's from AI to AI. Then if it doesn't register within you in between in that process, then you've lost.
100% agree. I started watching this video because you just posted it in this morning, so I hadn't had a chance. But of course, I saw that it was about writing, and that's something I'm passionate about as well. And it is something that friends and family have been. Now that I have a bit of free time this summer, and basically my family's like, when are you going to start writing again? When are you going to, spit out another book kind of thing? And I saw that, okay, this is interesting. And you talk about, you're right, AI doing the research. And I could just say, yeah, give me some research on this particular topic, and off it goes. From a writing perspective, part of doing that research, all of a sudden you get all these popcorn ideas for whatever content you're working on, whether it's a book or a screenplay. Ooh, because of this means this character can do this. I've researched this bit. Oh, that could make an interesting plot point here, as opposed to, so it needs to be interactive. And when you were talking through this reminded me of the session I recently did at Dynamics Minds that we hadn't really talked about on this podcast after I actually delivered it. It was very hard. It was probably one of the hardest sessions I ever had to deliver. Putting it together was also extremely hard, but I actually I used ChatGPT. And basically I would say it was a 3-hour therapy session, because I just gave it, here's the session I'm working on. And I said, ask me questions, and it asked me questions. How did this make you feel? What results came of this? And I gave it answers, and it came back. And I'm not saying use ChatGPT to be a therapist for you, get a human. But in terms of, for me, this is another tool, I guess you could say. But to me, it wasn't about go write this presentation for me. It was working with, and this tool allowed me to collect my own thoughts, kind of, session, like put them in a certain readable fashion, also helped me discover things about myself. So looking at this particular video, or talking about this too, and I heard another story about someone who had a book in them for 20 years and never started to write it, started using AI to help them formulate and write this book again in an interactive process. So again, this goes back to what we've been saying. It's Copilot, not pilot. AI is great, but don't let it take over. Now, there's certain things where AI is good. Like, yes, it can generate a podcast. Like, I've had an 80-page ebook that I needed to read. I think I mentioned this before. I threw it at Google LM, gave me a podcast. And it was a very technical book. It was a health book on something else. It was a way to summarize the information. That's great, because it was either me reading that book or whatever else. This was another way to get that information. AI helped. But in terms of the research, I do like this idea of the back and forth. And it's like, it's vibe coding in a sense. You're vibe researching, where really vibe coding shouldn't, I know vibe coding, a lot of people are saying, well, just go and get it to do the work for you. No, to me, vibe coding it is that interactive process. And the project I've been working on the last few weeks, it was, using AI back and forth and for development. Now, this could go for writing, this could go for research, could go for a lot of things. It's powerful stuff, but the human in the loop is what really makes it special in the end, to me.
Yeah. And I think a good point in this, you brought up books, which is a good thing as well. Something they also touch on in the video is that they said that books, who reads books these days? You just get them summarized, and actually, shouldn't they just be summarized into an article? And actually, if you look at it, that article could just be a tweet, but then tweets don't change lives. Books does. And it's something about the human condition. I think the act of sitting down and actually reading a paper book from end to end and how that changes lives, it does, but a tweet never did. And so I find that also and it's like what you said about blog posts, right? You have people, and I have people coming up to me all the time and saying, you wrote this blog post, I don't need to. Well, yeah, you do, because your perspective on things, and like you said, your popcorn ideas or your associations are unique. And if everyone starts to create books using AI, we're going to have very generic books. If all writers use AI to summarize and do research for them, they're going to miss the small little nuggets that us as individuals will pick up, just because our childhoods were different, or our friends growing up were different, or our interests are different. But AI is going to do the same job for everyone when it summarizes content, for instance, right? So it is that little human touch, that little human detail that we're missing if we're using AI in all of this, which I think I'm kind of getting to as very important. So that was just this episode's quiet rant, plead, AI plead.
The human touch, that might be our title. We'll see.
Maybe. And also, this is so, I love this. Okay. So we have a few other things that I want to quickly touch on. We're not going to go into depth of these, but I just wanted to mention them. A new article, on the Microsoft Cloud blog, how to leverage AI to reimagine cross-functional collaboration with Inés Urrutia. The reason why I'm mentioning it, because I'm Gina's biggest fan. She was judged at ACDC a million years ago, and been following her and her kind of path within Microsoft. And this is where she's interviewed talking about some of the hurdles and challenges that we face in adopting AI these days. And through that article, which is a very good article, check it out, I also saw something that triggered, kind of tickled my interest a little bit, which was AI Fluency, which is a framework and foundations program, from what I can gather, from Antropic, which is the MCP server people. Mm-hmm. It was kind of a course-ish kind of training, upskilling type program. So if you're interested in that, check out AI Fluency. And then I saw that actually, because we all talk about agents, right? And the holy grail of agents are Yarvis. Everyone wants Yarvis, right? Iron Man, Tony Stark's AI agent, Yarvis. And now, what is it? Is it, I can't remember. Cisco now created Yarvis. And it's an agent that is transforming platform engineering at Outshift. So Outshift is one of the kind of, what is it called in English? I don't have the English words, but it's one of the companies of Cisco where they do AI. And
we would call like a divisions or something.
Yeah, something like that. And they are rethinking platform engineering with AI at its core, and they're calling it Yarvis. So I just needed to shout out those few little links because I it's something I came across. So I just had to mention it. Yeah. You put something in here because now it's all mine. So we need to kind of find one of yours, I think, so that we can kind of go back and forth a little bit. So do you want to talk about the flows connection reference replacer? Because
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
seen it. I know.
You
I
haven't
know
seen
this
this?
would get you excited. I haven't seen this. So tell me, because now I'm going to get excited. And I didn't look at it deliberately so that you can tell me and I can get excited.
Okay. So I imagine this. You're working on a project, and then all of a sudden there's 5 bazillion connection references, all pointing to the same, basically the same connection or the same thing. And let's just say you're in the project. Let's just say you're in this project, and all of a sudden you start kind of yelling at people at Teams to make sure they get their connection references sorted out before a deployment happens. As you're doing the deployment, all of a sudden, if it's prompting you to make all these new connections, you're like letting the team know and shaming people and things like that.
Know me so well. Yes.
Mm-hmm. I'm just a hypothetical scenario here.
Yeah.
So this tool by Tanguy Touzard, who we all know, the godfather of the XrmToolBox, Tanguy's basically saved the Power Platform world millions upon millions of euros and dollars, and basically did it for hours, essentially for free out of the basically, well, to be honest, to really help his own projects out, but he shared it with the world. And of course, all the other tool makers as well. Definitely big shout out to them. But he built a tool that allows you to take all of these random connection references, select them, and then consolidate them into one that you pick, maybe the one that you created, and clean all of this mess up.
I was crying.
Really? So I was like, yes.
Is it for real?
I tried it out on one of my environments because it's still fairly new, but yeah, it basically kind of consolidates everything for you. And
how is that even possible? I have to click the link now and go in and see what this is.
Well, it was his post, but yeah, load it up on your XrmToolBox and yeah, wow. There you go. So for those of you who have to deal with multiple connection references and deal with this cleanup, this is a tool that really should help you out. Yeah.
And also, yes, we are crying with you because it is a hurdle. We know what it's like. And you have our sympathies. And then thank you, Tanguy. And then also I needed this a year ago. Okay. Because now it's all sorted. But yeah, fantastic.
Yes. As soon as I saw that, I thought of you right away. I thought you're going to love this. And I'm like, no, I'm just going to put it in the OneNote and I see if you discover it yourself. And I haven't highlighted this, So.
Yeah, that's very good. Thank you. Okay. That made my day. I'm done now. But I do have a few other, posts to share. I wanted to highlight my good friend Sara Lagerquist's post about, because after EPPC, she promised to post about the new updates for planning Power Apps, which used to be called Plan Designer. And she did. Just a few days ago, she posted 5 very good tricks when it comes to using Plan Designer. And one of them is create your publisher first, which I love because that's all we have to do that. And then we kind of have to put it in solution. Ditch the auto-suggested tables and re-prompt your lookups. I love that. That means that you can now, it loves to invent shiny new contact and accounts tables for you. Delete them and your existing, add your existing tables and prompt again for lookups, which is a very good tip, which I haven't tried because I've then done it manually, but I didn't know you could re-prompt it. So that was a very good tip. And then she has a few other ones that is why it's worth checking out. And then you posted a link in here with a follow-up post that I haven't seen yet.
She did another.
So maybe you can.
She did another post this morning, actually, and I had it here 2 seconds ago. Where'd it go? Oh, here we go. Yeah, so she posted more of speeding up table creation, watching about languages because she is doing things in Swedish, which I think you can appreciate doing Norwegian here in Canada, like things in French, multilingual aspects. The draft mode. I haven't looked at it. She talked about how I got aware of this because she tagged both of us about icons. So yeah, and Plan Designer custom tables magically get cute icons. They don't always make sense, but still an improvement. So getting away from the puzzle. I know she's not good at or not a big fan of the puzzle pieces, and none of us should be. So yeah, but this to me is one of those things, like her two posts. If people looked at Plan Designer, like I did way back when I did a video on Plan Designer when it first came out, it was missing a ton of stuff. And now but now it's getting better. Sorry, the ability to link in existing tables. There's also the process flow, which is part of the previews and things like that. So these are the types of things that I'm going to be presenting on basically Plan Designer, kind of with that in a couple sessions coming up this fall. So yeah, these posts are really helpful because we're all learning together. And this to me, in terms of building apps, also looking at non-Microsoft app builders as well, kind of doing comparisons with each. So a great couple articles. And again, if you haven't looked at Plan Designer lately, and I think you've said this before, go back, get back into it, check it out again, because it's changed so much in the last few months and just keeps getting better.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. And there's still a few shortcomings that we know about. For instance, it will always create 5 tables. There's a base prompt in there somewhere, probably, where it's just kind of have these guardrails still. But they are working on making them more agile and making it possible for them to use out of the box tables, for instance, is a big one. And I'm sure it's coming just around the corner. And also I saw another news about plans through the the cloud advocacy team. Eliza Benitez and April Dunham and that guru has a pulse news update for Power Apps that we've talked about in a few episodes. And in this one, they talk about how you can now export plans as PDFs for stakeholders, which is a really neat feature, right? So
that is cool.
Yeah. And I remember do you remember when they had the ability to print Canvas apps? And that was a big news snap. I think that's 2 years ago or something. And we were like,
yeah,
but you have to realize that people do have to kind of they have to print stuff still to give there are so many people, so many organizations in the world work in a very old fashioned way. So enabling kind of then their employees to use modern tools, but kind of then also having that legacy capability to allow you to print something or to export it as PDF or something, that is really neat. So
yes,
very good.
Yeah, and especially giving back to a customer or something like that, sharing if you don't want to give them access to Plan Designer, but you want to give them the results out of it.
The documentation. Also, putting that into a PDF format will also allow you to kind of copy paste that into Wiki or something in a much smoother way. So I think that's probably a part of it.
Yeah, nice. I did not know that, so that's cool.
Very cool. And then I saw something else that I need your help with, because I don't work with model-driven apps specifically, but I've seen 2 major news updates that people are going completely bananas over, and you need to kind of help me figure this out. So Naveed Ali Shah, at 2 of his things that I put in here on LinkedIn. So one blog post is about a game changer for model-driven apps. Say hello to XrmToolBox execute prompt. So that's one thing that you can use in JavaScript for customizing model-driven apps. And then think of it, and he says, think of it as ChatGPT inside Power Apps, but with business logic baked in. And here's the big news. This is the first time ever that developers can directly integrate Copilot-powered AI into web resources in JavaScript. No plugins, no flows, no third-party tools, just native code in your model-driven app magic. This sounds revolutionary in my book, and I love that it's for model-driven apps. So do you see oh yes, mind blown, this is fantastic?
Yes. The thing is, I haven't tried it yet, and this popped up on my radar as well. I think roughly probably the same time. Yeah, I could definitely see this being a thing where we can actually, get things like some cases where, because about the next article we're going to talk about is the prompt column type. I think the prompt column type might take care of some of these things, but this now actually gives you a little bit more. If you're not necessarily needing it to be part of your data, you just need to call out some AI and things like that. So yeah, a use case doesn't quite pop in my head beyond a sentiment analysis or some sort of evaluation on particular data, stuff that already sort of exists. But I think probably the more I think about it, come back to me in 2 weeks and I'll probably have about a dozen different use cases for this. Now that I begin to think about it, but it is interesting, and it is nice to see that Microsoft's still investing in the JavaScript library or the JavaScript commands around model-driven apps. It was always, are they going to abandon this in favor of power effects? I mean, they never said that, so don't quote me on any of that. But I do find like JavaScript within model-driven apps is one of those very powerful things. I use it pretty much every project I'm working on. Even last week, I was helping out and we were diving into the JavaScript stuff because that was the only way we could solve that problem with JavaScript within the model-driven apps. So yes, this is really cool. This gives another option there. And yeah, without having to tie in or do some other back-end stuff to make that happen. Now, I'm guessing that this will probably consume some either Copilot or AI Builder credits of some sort. The documentation really wasn't clear who's paying for this, I guess you could say, in terms of resources.
Copilot credits, yeah.
Yeah, so
Probably.
We'll see. So definitely, yeah, it is cool because I pasted that in as well. So yeah, it's in preview right now, so don't dump this into production. But I think I might try a few things in the next couple of weeks to try this out and just sort of see what. And then again, we'll get those creative juices going a little bit, and could definitely help out in certain use cases for sure.
Yeah, but because also what comes with this is a new component that you can add to your model-driven app that kind of summarizes, right? So it's not just that you can kind of use it now in your existing JavaScript or whatever it is. But so we made this hackathon thing for a procurement process, and we have a model-driven app that kind of assesses and goes through and checks all the vendors and if they uploaded the right documentation and stuff. And we use this little component in the model-driven app to check that the vendors had done what they were supposed to do and kind of give an assessment. But that is the same thing that was in the use case. Is kind of a sentiment analysis kind of scenario where you use it to summarize or give you a summary of the data that's already there. But it's very, very curious to see what they're going with this and what you can use it for. And also the prompt data type for Dataverse column, which is also a preview. And it's refining how we bring AI directly into our data model, as it allows you to kind of give a prompt, and also in the prompt, reference other data points. So you can reference variables, or you can reference other Dataverse table columns, for instance, and other resources. So
yeah, that could be like it kind of like calculated columns, but not in a sense, but you're using AI instead of the calculated column. So would I trust this to do like perfect math? Probably not. I'd probably stick to calculated columns, but this could be something in terms like sentiment analysis is good. When you get a ticket in, they could read or you know how someone could just have a whole bunch of stuff in the ticket. Just give me summarize this. Help me categorize this. Those types of things definitely could be very helpful, as opposed to having to read through the whole case, trying to figure it out. Should this be escalated? Which team should this be assigned to? If this could actually read some of that and do some of that automatically, or begin to tag it for analysis, that could be really cool. That I could see using for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. So moving on to Power Pages stuff, because there is a new thing, and we both put this in there. I saw afterwards that I think those two things are the same, that those two links are the same thing. New Power Pages Action Center.
Yeah, so this is cool. This brings a lot of the Power Pages admin stuff, which I think, I don't want to say gets ignored, but kind of gets, you can do admin stuff. This is really a good view for people that live and breathe in the Power Platform Admin Center. So before, you'd have to kind of drill down to go in the Power Pages specific stuff, or actually go through the Power Pages homepage. This will actually give you a list of all the sites in your environments, and tell you which sites don't have things like their certificates are expiring, which sites are not being visited with 0 visitors, which are in trial, they're about to expire, which ones have content delivery network enabled, which ones have the web firewall, web whatever it's called.
The WAF.
WAF, yeah, web application firewall. So it gives you, it summarizes this all in one spot. So again, with the Power Platform Admin Center, this is helping the admins centralize this information, being able to act on it in a lot more conducive manner. So it really helps the administrators in your world. And of course, they're very important people that sometimes kind of get forgotten because, it's not necessarily always visible. But yeah, this is really cool. It's really showing the Power Pages is still big investments happening on there with Power Pages in terms of really on the governance and security administration side of it as well, because that's so important regardless of how you're deploying or building your Power Pages. Whether you're building the traditional way or you're building it using single page applications, which is a segue into a link that you posted in here.
I like it. Right. So another big investment from the Power Pages team is, of course, using AI-driven development to build Power Pages sites. So with Power Pages single page applications, or SPAs, you now have the ability to start your Power Pages project from Visual Studio Code, where you create a new Power Page site and upload the site to your environment, and you can vibe code, or you can AI assisted coding, use wherever it is that you want to create that site. And also, very quickly, actually, Andrew Ellens put together a blog post series about Power Pages single page applications, which I absolutely love. I haven't had the time to dive in through each and every one of them, but he covers things like how to get started, how to do the main setup, the structure, the fragment-based routing, login, redirect, and also how you build components. So he's 6 blog posts in at the moment, and I just love it. And I think this is amazingly quick, I must say.
Well, but actually look at the dates. It was last year that he put these together. So
really?
Yeah.
How's that possible?
So this is, well, I think this is basically a way to, at that time to actually do single page applications within Power Pages. And then here we are a year later, Microsoft catching up, making it much more easier, the framework. Now, that being said,
Right.
I didn't go too deep. I read a few of his articles. A lot of these learnings that he's providing information definitely is applicable to this new feature that the Microsoft team is rolling out in terms of single page applications. So I'm not sure if Andrew is going to go back and revisit some of these now with the new feature. I hope you do. Andrew, if you're listening, please do, because this is gold and this is going to help us move forward. And this is something that's on my long list of things. The next summer list is pretty high up, is Power Pages single page applications. Playing with that, getting my head wrapped around that. So I'm definitely going to be using this as a resource, because taking Andrew's learnings from a year ago and applying it to these new features now. So yeah, when I saw it too, like, holy crap, this guy's generated a ton of content. And then I started reading it and then reading the dates. I'm like, oh, this is a year old, but wow, this is still so good.
I'm so glad you caught that, because I didn't really register with me at all. And the reason that I came across this was because we used this in a project last week where I have a team which is created a user interface for like the vendor thing again, for that vendor portal, using an AI tool called Vercel, which creates a POC kind of user interface, very snappy, very good, and you can export React from that. And so I had one of my developers look into it and see if he can grab that React code and use single page applications with Power Pages and kind of create a project using that code, and get up and running really quickly. And he could. And I was blown away, and he was blown away too, because he says this is going to change the game in terms of who can now start working with Power Pages, because it has been a really high threshold for getting started. If you're a pro coder, React developer, you wouldn't really want to get into it because it was messy and it was all over the place. This, however, means they can develop this site as they would any other site. And it gives them the ability to do that code first. I know that the starting template that Microsoft provides for the single page application doesn't connect to the web API right now. So you need a proxy when you use when you develop it, so that you get a local version of that API and the data set in it for you to be able to develop correctly and using the data. But there are plenty of tools around to help you do that. And those who are React developers know this very well. So amazing. And I hope that Andrew Ellens update his blog post as well, just like you. So that's a lot of fun. Let's quickly wrap up with your latest podcasts episode with Howdang. I was on his podcast a few months ago, maybe weeks ago at least. And this week it was your turn.
Yeah, and Hooding is the guy. He's amazing. He's, some people like he's young, and I know that there's certain people. The sort of, you talk about, the kids these days and all the millennials and like Hooting is the exact opposite. The guy is very well accomplished. He does a lot. He's very well organized, so well articulated. Like I could talk to this guy like all day. He's like, he has this old wisdom stuck in a 20-year-old's body, which was really good. We had an amazing conversation. We talked for about an hour. We talked about Power Pages. We talked about vibe coding. Different things about the MVP program as well. So if you haven't had a chance, and if you're not sick of listening to me blabble on about this stuff, check out that podcast with Hooting. And of course, with the podcast with you as well, that he did a few weeks earlier. Plus all his episodes are so good. Like just some great conversations. He's just a great guy to have a conversation with. I met him last year. Talked to him last year on some other stuff. Like we had a chat, and then I think he was one of your students in your session at Color Cloud. Met him in person briefly at MVP Summit. It was one of those situations. I didn't even realize he was there. We walked by each other and like, hey, what are you doing here? He said, yeah, like I was on my way. He was on my way to something. I said, well, let's catch up later. And we never did. And I kind of regret that a little bit, but I'm sure I'll see him again somewhere. So yeah, check out that podcast episode. Yeah, really good. And check out all his episodes. Listen, like, subscribe.
Yeah, definitely. And follow him on LinkedIn as well, because he's also one of those people that keeps posting these updates. And he's also one of the people that I saw this new agent capabilities for Canvas apps. No, sorry, model-driven apps on one of his posts where he talks about agent APIs and agent response content, where you can actually customize the content you get out when you surface Copilot content. So definitely follow Howdown for a lot of new news and updates. Mm-hmm. Right. So you want to briefly talk about what you're doing this fall? Because I have a session free fall, and I think I'm going to keep it that way. I'm not presenting anything. And I love it, but I'm going to be at all these, not all of these, but I'm going to be at a lot of these. But I'm just loving having a half a year where I don't present, or I just help out. But you are going to present for the both of us, I think.
Well, hold on. We are presenting an online event. Did you not know this?
Well, yes, but it's not a conference, workshop, or a session in that respect.
Well, let me talk a little bit. So the Power Platform Community High Five, which is put on by our friends Keith Atherton and Sarah Jones. And I think it says here to be what you're talking about. You're talking about Power Pages?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Not really, because we have a plan, but it's so long until we get there. So for me, it's one of those, I'll do that when we get there. But I have talked to Sarah about this. So there you go.
So check that out.
Don't worry. Oh yeah.
Yes. Okay, cool. So we're doing that. I'm talking about interesting. I'm talking about fitness for IT professionals. So
really?
Sorry? Really? Yeah.
It feels like, isn't that what you did in I got some flashes from, TV back in the day. We had Housewives, and then there was this program that, they showed on the TV, and just do this and then up and down and just move your arms like that. That was kind of my associations when you said that. IT professional sounds like so old IT guys can get off their chairs and start moving around
and start lifting, get moving. It's like for those Canadians, if you remember participation, be something like that.
Participation. Wow. Okay. So you're going to teach IT people how to move around or to get fit?
It's more on tips on how how to get off, like things to do to get off your butt, to get fit, to give you the tools or the processes or the prompts, basically the human-based prompts to help you put a plan together. And because for those of you who do know me, I go to the gym 3 to 4 times a week, even with a busy schedule. And if I don't, I'm a mess. I've gotten to the habit. So just sharing some of the things that I do myself, and working with my coach and things like that because I do find that in our profession, people aren't exactly the most healthy all the time. And also in terms of mental health, we're also not the most healthy all the time. And for me, fitness has helped both of those things. So I'd like to kind of share basically what I've learned on that. So that's basically what I'll be talking about.
Yeah, so important. Very important
All right.
topic, for sure.
So where you're not speaking in person this fall, I am in 6 different things. And that's pretty much it. Like that's it for 2025. For sure. So I'll be speaking at the Dynamics Con Regional, the Rocky Mountain. Oh, I'm not sure you heard that. That was a crack of thunder.
Yeah. That we did.
Collab Days Finland on September 11th. I just found out Baltic Summit in Poland, talking about the Power Plan Designer, the Intelligent App Designer. That's pretty exciting. I've never been to Poland before, so looking forward to engaging with that crew there. Speaking at Experts Live UK, I've talked about vibe coding, which is pretty interesting. And then, of course, Nordic Summit, teaming up with Manju Gajar we're talking about Power Pages and Copilots. And then Power Platform Community Conference, where I'll be doing a workshop for prepping for the PL900 certification, or really just giving the foundation for people who are being sent to PPPC with not knowing anything. Let me at least give you the fundamentals so the rest of the week will make sense. That's probably another way to put it. And if you want to write the exam, that's great. And then also, again, talk about Plan Designer and Copilots and building apps with Eliza as well. So we're co-presenting on that. So I'm looking forward to that. So maybe it sounds like a lot, but that's going to be pretty much it for my 2025 in terms of speaking. So a lot of these are sort of repeat sessions of the different sessions. So yeah.
All right. And then next episode is going to be July 23rd, which is absolutely crazy. And then we may not have a treat in between. We'll see. Yeah. We can't say anything else. So that's it.
Cool.
Okay. Right. Okay. Jesus, 1 hour and 13 minutes. I think this is a new record.
It is. We'll edit a bit. We'll see. Yeah. It's the summertime, right? People are at the beach and they got their headphones in. They're listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast. Make sure you put on sunscreen and enjoy.
Yes. Yes. I'm proud of you. Thank you. Very good. Alrighty. Have a fantastic summer, you guys, and catch you on the other side. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, please make sure you share it with your friends and colleagues in the community. And be sure to leave a rating or a review on your favorite streaming service. That makes it easier for others to find us. Follow us on social platforms and make sure you don't miss a single episode. Thank you for listening to the Power Platform Boost podcast with your host, Ulrikke and Nick Dolman. See you next time for your timely boost of Power Platform news and updates.